Hello, I'm Sarah Diaz, and today I'll be discussing the disabled population in the event of a disaster. Many of the emergency preparedness plans outline the disabled population as being the mentally and/or physically handicapped, deaf or hard of hearing, blind or low vision, speech disabled, mobility disabled, and even service animals. Initially, when we think about the disabled population, you might imagine people with very apparent disabilities, such as the visually impaired or the mentally and/or physically handicapped. But when considering the disabled during an emergency, this scope broadens much more and includes a larger portion of the population that isn't necessarily affected by their disabilities on a day-to-day basis, but rather could very well need additional assistance should an emergency occur. As a result of this, emergency preparedness organizations such as FEMA and the Red Cross have devised specific plans for people with disabilities and their families. These plans attempt to target the extra difficulties the disabled population could face in the event of a disaster. In addition to these specialized plans, in 2010, FEMA established their Office of Disability Integration and Coordination. In these images to follow, I will go in depth about both preparedness plans for the special needs as well as FEMA's roles. According to the CDC, there are 57 million Americans with disabilities. For these 57 million Americans, emergencies and natural disasters pose an even greater threat. As a result of this, FEMA established a specific unit to oversee the disabled population in the event of a disaster. This unit is called the Office of Disability Integration and Coordination. Essentially, this targets the disabled population and gives them the extra preparedness and assistance that they may need in the event of a disaster. The Office of Disability and Integration and Coordination is composed of disability integration experts who go to disaster areas throughout the nation to provide guidance and advice throughout disaster response and recovery. On a state level, there are regional disability integration specialists who work closely with the local disabled population, assuring that they are being properly managed and cared for. According to FEMA's website, another essential tactic for managing the disabled population during a disaster is attributed to the CMIST framework. This is a tool for identifying the functional needs of people with disabilities or who have access and functional needs before, during, and after a disaster. CMIST, originally developed by June Isaacson Kayleys, is the acronym for Communication, Maintaining Health, Independence, Safety, Support Services and Self-Determination, and Transportation. Because the disabled population is more vulnerable in the event of a disaster, organizations like FEMA and the Red Cross encourage more than just their generalized preparedness plan, but rather a plan that incorporates your specific needs, such as, for example, maybe important medications, inhalers, glasses, wheelchairs, etc. In addition to this, it is also important to form these plans with family members, friends, or even neighbors who will be able to assist you in an emergency situation.